Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a starter on a 2010 Nissan Pathfinder. What you're going to start with is taking off the negative terminal, which I've already gone ahead and done. It's going to be up on there. You're going to need a 10 millimeter, preferably deep well. Sometimes the short ones won't quite reach to it, but you get that taken off, and once you do, you're ready to go up under the vehicle and get started.
All right, we're under the car now. Starter is going to be located on the right side of your vehicle, which will be the passenger side. You have your oil drain plug here. It is directly above your lower oil pan. I'm going to start off with taking out these 10 millimeter nuts to get this heat shield out of the way. I'm making this video because I watched a video on replacing this so I could know exactly what size tools I needed before I crawled up under the vehicle and had to get back out and get something, wanted to be ready. Well, I guess mine is slightly different than the video that I watched, because I do not remember him saying to take off the 10 millimeters. Alright, so there's more up in there from what it feels like, so you can't remove it entirely, at least not easily, but that's okay. At least I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay, because you can bend it up out of your way to be able to get to everything. Now we're going to move on to the back. Alright, so you got one bolt here coming in from the back of the bell housing into the starter. It's going to be a 14 millimeter, and then your second bolt is going to be coming the opposite direction through the starter into the bell housing. It should also be a 14 millimeter. You're going to need, because of this heat shield here, you're going to need an extension in order to get on that and get it broken loose. Get on there tight. I recommend. I tried to push it to get it broken loose, but you have a little bit more strength pulling, so I recommend trying to pull it. All right, got that broken loose. Back it out a little bit. If you have a longer ratchet, I recommend having one. It'll make breaking that loose a lot easier. Sadly, all of my nicer tools are at work. All right, so go ahead and grab your extension with your deep well 14. We're gonna come in from this front side. That other guy must not have had this heat shield. This thing sucks. It's very much in the way. All right, you're gonna need to, I wasn't able to film it because I needed both of my hands. You're gonna need both hands. So you're gonna need to kind of like pull that back this way, out of your way a little bit while you turn your ratchet in order to get on there, because it's a really tight spot. But I should be able to get it now. Got one more click. Good gravy. Oh, it's broke loose. Whew, that felt good. Smashed the back of my hand into the side of the engine. It just comes with it. All right, I'm gonna work on getting all these loose. Just take your extension and your socket off of your ratchet. Pull this back with one hand and then loosen it take it the rest of the way out with this. That's the easiest way. Once we got that out, you're gonna should be able to start getting this out by hand. If it's a little tight, ratchet it until you're able to use just your fingers. But you're more than likely going to need this support, the front of the starter, to keep tension off this, because right now it's very tight. So let's do that. Maybe I can film it. All right, I was not able to film, supporting the front side of it, getting it out. All I got is my phone on me. All right, keep in mind when you go to put it back together that this is the bottom bolt. There's a lot of space here where there's no threads. That goes in the bottom. And this is your top bolt. It's a little bit shorter than that one. It goes up here. You'll find out pretty quick if you try and use this one on the bottom, because you won't be able to reach the threads. And if you try and use the long one up there, you're just going to be wrenching on it forever. So keep that in mind. Long goes to the bottom, shorter one goes to the top. Moving back towards the front side of the starter, you have two connections that we need to take off before we get this starter out. You have one here. It's just a clip. It's retained to the side of the engine here on a bracket. And then press the clip in, pull it towards the rear of the vehicle, and that will stay with the starter. All right, now that we have that off, over to the side, we're gonna get our next connection off, which is the positive cable. This is why we had to disconnect the negative cable up top, because if you leave that connected and then you got to take this off and you touch anywhere on the vehicle that's grounded, you're going to get sparks. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to damage any modules or cause any issues at all. So you just, anytime you're working on something that's going to have battery voltage on it, go ahead, disconnect your battery. It will help you out in the long run, because if you don't and you cause an issue, it's going to be a lot more expensive than just this starter. Alright, so I got the rubber boot off. It was extremely difficult on mine because the previous owner used to live on a dirt road, so it was just kind of caked up with a lot of dirt and old mud on there. Finally got it broken loose and able to slide it back. So now we'll be able to use a 12mm to get this off. Not very tight. Once you break it loose, should be able to just take it off by hand. Now the new starter or the reman starter should come with a nut, because it has this little locking ring, or it should come with something new. If it doesn't, make sure you hold on to this. We got the nut off. Now let's get the cable off of there. That's off and out of the way. And let's get this starter out. All right, so what I had to do there was rotate it. So it sits up in there like this. I had to rotate it that way towards the engine block, or towards the engine pan block, and then slide it out like so. This connector right here did get in the way, so I just pushed towards the engine block a little bit to bend that bracket to give me a little bit more room, and she slid right out. So there we go. That's it for removal. One thing is there is a plate here. It should stay up there. Feels like there's like some RTV or something holding on. If it stays up there and everything stays lined up, you're good. If it does come off, just put it onto the back side of your starter your new one that comes in, there should be these little alignment holes here, so it should just pop on one way and be good to go. But I will be back with the new starter. Gotta take the wife's car and go pick up a new one. All right, it's a new day. We got our new starter. Let's go ahead and get that up in there. We're gonna do the opposite of how we took it out with the solenoid facing towards the engine block. Start her in like that. Get her pushed back up in there. Slowly rotate back towards you. And then, very carefully, push it in. Remember, we have those dowel pins that should help line everything up. And you have that plate back there that if yours did not come out, it should line right up with the dowel pins. If it does come out, then just go ahead and place it on the starter and the dowel pins will hold it in proper position. But we got everything flush, everything's back up where it needs to be. So I'm going to take the top bolt. I'm gonna go ahead and get that started. If I can do that with one hand, I can. I'm actually gonna go ahead and get the back one started as well, just so everything's lined up where it needs to be. Up close and personal. Alright, we got a few threads on both bolts, so everything's about where it needs to be, which is good. Now let's get our positive cable put back on. Make sure should have brought like a wire brush or something down here, but rubbing it off with my hand will do. Just make sure your positive cable is fairly clean. You want really good connection. All right, that's back in place. Now, if yours didn't come with a new nut and lock washer, just go ahead and reuse that. It should be perfectly fine as long as you get it nice and tight. Always remember, lock washer goes on first, because, you know, if you put it on second, it would just fall right on. Alright, so it looks like the new nut is not a 12mm, so I'm gonna have to go back up top and grab me a 13. Alright, so just keep in mind that the factory nut is a 12. Aftermarket nut, at least on this one, is a 13. So maybe just have you a 12 and a 13 when you get under here, just in case your starter's been replaced before. That way you don't have to get under the car, get back out from under it, then get under it again. You want to try and make things efficient and as easy on yourself as they can be. So having everything ready to go before you get under the vehicle is always a good idea. So just make sure it's nice and tight. There is a lock washer there, so you don't have to like yank on it a bunch. Now what I like to do is this one right here, the one that the cable's not attached to, the one that's just a part of the starter. I like to check that. Just make sure it's tight. See, I got a little bit of movement out of it. Just making sure where they rebuilt this thing, they got everything done correctly. You take your rubber boot, put that back over top. We don't want any part of the ground system of this vehicle to touch.
this positive cable. All right, got the positive cable attached, everything covered back up. Let's take our signal connector. Now remember, we bent this bracket in order to get it out easily. So just kind of bend that back out. Make sure everything lines up good. Get this connector plugged back in. And make sure it clicks. As long as it clicks into place, should be good to go. And then, you know, if you don't hear a loud click or don't hear a very good click, just give her a little tug backwards without pressing the clip, just to make sure it's properly secure. Because if it's not, it slowly rattles loose, you're gonna have starting issues. And you're gonna be like, what the heck? I just replaced the starter. Just make sure your connections are good. Positive cable's tight, connector's properly clicked in. Now that all that is done, we're going to move towards the back. Tighten up our 2 mounting bolts. And then we're going to put our bolts back in for the heat shield, or connect the battery and see if she starts up. Now don't completely tighten this top one yet, or the bottom one, whichever one you start with. Just get her a little snug and then move on to the next one. That way everything's lined up properly. You don't have any extra tension on anything that you don't need. And it's just always a good idea to wait to tighten everything down completely until you're finishing it up. See, if it gets tweaked a little bit when you tighten one of them all the way down, then you're gonna have a harder time threading in that other bolt. So now we have both of them snug. I'm gonna go ahead and fully tighten this one down. I'm sure there's a torque spec, but I'm not worried about it. Maybe I'll look it up and I'll put it on screen if there's some of you that are worried about proper torque. The way I look at it, as you like to use German torque specs, which is good and tight. That is good and tight. Move back up to the top one. Get this one nice and tight. All right, our starter is secure. Let's get our heat shield bolts started. Now this might be a little difficult because you've had her bent back, kind of flared out, so it might be hard to get everything lined back up right. What I would recommend, definitely getting this put back on, because if you don't, you'll probably run into it making a slapping noise or clicking noise while sitting here flapping against your starter while you're driving. Got both of them started by hand. Move on to using our 10. Get her wrenched down. Keep in mind, these are just little bitty 10mm bolts, so they do not need to be crazy tight. Once you get them snugged up, just try and get a little bit more out of them, but you don't want to over tighten these and snap them. Get them snug like that, right about there, and then just give her a little bit more. And she's good to go, nice and secure.
We got our 2 mounting bolts tight. We got our signal connector hooked up. We have our positive cable hooked up. Everything's good to go. Let's head back up top, connect the battery, and verify she starts. All right, back up top. Let's get our negative terminal. Slide that back on there. Also, don't recommend doing this and film it because it's very difficult to work on things one-handed. But get her pretty tight. Now these Nissans are bad about this negative terminal getting loose over time for being over tightened. I've already had to mess with some stuff to get this one to work because it was extremely loose. So I'm just gonna tighten her down until she stops, and then just verify doesn't move. I got a little bit of movement. Let's try and get her a little tighter. If you can't get it tight, then more than likely you didn't need a starter. You needed a new connector. But get her tight. Make sure she's snug. Doesn't move. All right. If it does move, you need a new one. That's nothing. No way really around that. But positive terminal is good to go. Negative terminal is on. So now let's start this thing. And there she goes. Starts up, no problem. If you have a Nissan Pathfinder or Frontier, because the Frontier should be very similar to this job. If your VDC off light comes on, it's just something weird with these when you disconnect the battery. It just tends to come on. It'll normally go off after you've hit about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Go ahead and get off. It's just something with the computer and getting freaked out by having no voltage. If it doesn't go away, you know, you can try an AutoZone or O'Reilly's to clear the code for you. If not, you're gonna have to go to a Nissan dealership to clear it, unless you have your own scan tool that can do it. But normally mine will go away after I hit that 15 to 20 miles per hour. But yeah, that's it. That's how you're gonna replace the starter on a 2010 Nissan Pathfinder. I'll look up and see what other vehicles this applies to. It should be very similar to earlier model Pathfinders, as well as similar year model Frontiers. As long as it's got the 4.0 in it, it's going to be about the same. But thanks for checking it out. I hope it was able to help you. Have a good day.